Do you want the good news or the bad news? Robots are coming for your job. Also, they might kill you. Wait, that's 2 bits of bad news. Hello there, you 6 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage towards truth and freedom. Turn on the notification bell right now and subscribe to this channel. We make content every single day and we need you to watch all of it. And we need you to comment so that we can make even more content because you are the fuel that makes us grow. And if we're to unite against the threat of terrifying killer robots and AI taking all of our jobs, we better learn to communicate better, even if the systems of communication may end up being co-opted by those very robots. Let's have a look at some of those terrifying robots now. I don't like that their soundtrack is like Stomp or one of those Broadway shows where people are like dum 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 da dum dum. I'd rather they river danced. Yeah, well, at least no one strapped a gun to their back and just let them loose in society where they nervously spray bullets into a barren landscape. All right, well, as long as it's just the military using these terrifying robot dogs against people from other countries who are nothing like us and don't have soul spirit stuff, we don't have to worry about that. We don't want them filtering into domestic police forces and being used against the domestic population. That'll be unforgivable. There, I draw the line. In March, the Biden administration was criticised for encouraging local governments to use the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds, a $1.9 trillion pandemic relief aid package, on policing in the midst of an ongoing pandemic. There were many confusing things that happened in that pandemic that just didn't make sense. But perhaps the most confusing thing was when they went, okay, in order to help people that have suffered as a result of this pandemic, we are buying an army of robot dogs that can shoot people. How's that gonna help? Wear a mask? Some towns and cities approved police requests to spend pandemic relief funds on drones and armoured vehicles. We brought you that story at the time. This week, members of Los Angeles City Council's Public Safety Committee voted in favour of LAPD's acquisition of military robots because LAPD have got such a great history when it comes to dealing with civil unrest that what you want is for them to have autonomous clip-clop gun dogs unleashed throughout Compton. The result of the committee's vote were not surprising. 4 of its 5 members are top recipients of campaign donations from political groups representing LAPD officers. Of course, there are great people in the police force. I happen to know some great people in the police force, so this is not an out-and-out attack on the police force. This is an attack on militarising the police force and the potential of the police force being used against the public that they're supposed to be protecting and serving. It's not like there's any history or current news stories about the police attacking citizens. In the past, these semi-autonomous quadrupedal bots have had only brief tours of duty with police forces across the US. Do you know how they're introducing them to us by making them laugh, aren't they? They're giving them like, hey, look at these funny little clip-clop dogs. How can we make American people like these evil killer robots? Make them like dogs? Yeah, make them like dogs. They wouldn't fall for that though, would they? They'll see a dog with a gun on its back is still a sort of robot dog. Oh, look at this one. It thinks it's people. Aw, you. He thinks he's people. In Honolulu, Hawaii, police deployed the bots at homeless encampments during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The NYPD was also seen using a bot named DigiDog to patrol public housing projects. Where should we start introducing these robot killer dogs to the public? What about, like, homeless people and poor people who can't do anything about it, whose spirits have been broken by crushing inequality? I mean, would that be wrong? Would that be the wrong thing? Surely what they need is identifiable aid. In fact, this $1.9 trillion package could be used to... Listen, you know where this is heading. We're sending those robot dogs to fuck with the homeless. Sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned the package. While robot maker Boston Dynamics has promised that it wouldn't allow its bots to harm human beings, that'll do then. That's not the plot of Terminator. We promise we will not go back into the past and kill John Connor. Well, that's enough for me. Carry on then. The San Francisco City Council voted last year that it's okay for police to use robots to kill. Well, they fucking already changed their mind. Yeah, I suppose it would be okay for it to kill. Yeah, but definitely not going back in time, though. Oh, no, definitely, let's not change that. We can't do that yet. The LAPD dog-like military robot was bought at a cost of nearly $280,000. If the past is precedent, the goal here is to normalise and ingrain the technology so that taxpayers start footing the bill down the line. No, they wouldn't do that, would they? Get the taxpayers to pay for something that became profitable and ultimately led to less freedom for all of us? No, that doesn't even sound remotely familiar. This is what happened when LAPF, Los Angeles Police Foundation, funded a pilot of LAPD body camera surveillance, funded LAPD LAPD's implementation of Palantir data processing systems, funded the hiring of controversial academics from NYU School of Law's policing project to write new technology policies, and paid to set up the first test sites of the Community Safety Partnership Surveillance Program. But otherwise, have you done it? No. Other than that seemingly endless list, we've barely done it at all. All those privately funded experiments have since become taxpayer liabilities. They're crafty, aren't they? Residents have warned that the robots could be outfitted with lethal munitions, following a pattern of mission creep that we saw with LAPD's use of drones, body cams, and myriad other technologies. But it's not just killer robots on the street we need to worry about, although that is quite a lot to worry about. Because, you know, most of us aren't homeless or so poor that we can be used to test robot dogs on. Yet. Major fast food chains are employing thousands of robots to flip burgers, brew espressos, and greet customers. Would you like a coffee? Ow! Shit! Ow! God! Sorry, sir. Sorry. See you in court. I am your new lawyer. That guy's a good friend of mine. And it is a fraction of the cost compared to paying human workers. Phew! A plan with no drawbacks. White Castle is testing the Flippy robot. This is the Flippy robot. Oh, wow, the Flippy robot. Well, that sounds fun. What does it do? Flip and flop and slide around, play funny games? It takes your job. Oh, but look at Flippy. That was your life. Fuck you. Is that what the flip is? Yes. White Castle is testing the Flippy robot at 100 locations, and Chipotle uses a one-armed robot to make tortilla chips at one site, and Starbucks has $18,000 AI-powered espresso machines in at least 1,200 locations. When you watch this mainstream media news report on the Flippy robot, please notice their perspective and their general tone towards the Flippy robot. That it's favourable, that it's fun, that it's innocuous. Even when it's announced that it's going to have a human economic cost, they still see it as brilliant because their agenda is not interrupted by the Flippy robot. It is ultimately served, as is your espresso, piping hot by a robot that hates you.
Chipotle is testing an autonomous kitchen robot that can make its tortilla chips. Yes,
you idiot.
Officials with the chain restaurant said the mechanical assistant named Chippy.
Do you think people will accept these robots if we give them glib, stupid little nicknames? No, they won't be that stupid. Sorry, sir, you've lost your job. Oh, why? I've been working my hardest. I know, but look at Chippy. Fuck you. Chippy.
Will allow the humans to focus on actual food-related issues.
Yes, we need a little positive news.
That's not positive news. That's not positive news if you're a minimum wage person. That's not positive news if you're concerned about the automation of the workforce. That's not positive news if you care about increasing inequality and the inability of ordinary people to organise against centralised power. That's bad news. That's bad news, cheerfully delivered by the media arm of centralised authority.
A follow-up story on Chippy, of course, also related to Flippy, which is the hamburger flipper that is stationed in some White Castle restaurants.
There's Chippy, there's Flippy. Hey, sir, come back here. Grippy? Come back here. Drink your coffee. Too hot. I can't drink it. Get drippy.
Chippy is essentially, as we saw in the photos there, a long robotic arm that cooks tortilla chips and dumps them into a bin.
Dumps them into a bin. Bon appetit.
And ultimately removing the need for an employee to be there doing this. I'm all for Chippy, guys. Chippy and Flippy.
Chippy and Flippy and Lippy and Grippy. It's like Teletubbies for future unemployment.
This might be good for stocks like a Chipotle, eventually like a McDonald's, because it is just going to drive a lot more efficiency.
In a way, even this innocuous, seemingly, story is a good example of how the mainstream media facilitates the agenda of centralised authority. I don't want to be conspiratorial, but the coalescence of financial interest is to the advantage of the kind of elites that hugely benefited, for example, during the pandemic and benefit during this war. And the more that people become expendable, generally speaking, the more power they have. If, like, the only power that we have is, hey, we're not going to do that, I'm not buying that, why don't we come together and organise our own... Once they've got Chippy, Flippy, Lippy and Grippy, or Donald Duck's bastard robot nephews, no leverage against them. Actually, we've got a leverage robot.
As I mentioned, reduces labor costs in the restaurant.
Reduces labor costs means reduces your ability to negotiate a living wage for your time.
You invest one time in this particular robot, that's one less employee.
One less employee. They're literally describing how you've lost your job. I mean, was there not enough suffering in the 2008 crash? Was there not enough suffering during the pandemic? Is there not enough global suffering as a result of these interests being pursued at every level of society? And then this is presented as like good news. Chipotle are going to be sacking people and dumping your food in a bin and expecting you to say thank you for it.
Let's look at this robot as an employee. That employee is not going to be taking off days from work.
Oh, it's not going to be taking off any time, is it? Flippy or Chippy and certainly not going to complain about its labor conditions or about growing inequality across America or the possibility of ordinary people having a life that's built around more than just working, endless shifts, and maybe looking out the window one day and seeing a butterfly or a leaf floating on a breeze. Chippy don't care about nature. Chippy don't care about you. Chippy don't care about God. Chippy don't care about nothing. Bon appetit!
Unless the arm falls off because the bolts fall off, and that is unlikely.
Bolts fall off. We didn't like the bit where you said the bolts might fall off. Sorry about that. Your job could be done by Flippy. If we put a tie on him, I'll do it. Just tell me where to stand. We gotta get that voice right. He's based on Zelensky.
And lastly, improved food quality. Again, I am all for the perfect chip. Give it to me. I'm willing to pay more for the perfect tortilla chip. I'm gonna leave there happy, feeling good about myself.
How dare they include improved food quality on that list? Like a faceless, soulless robot can prepare food better than a human being, or your grandmother, or the relationship between ceremony, ritual, community, culture, and food. Every single bit of humanity extracted. The thing that's true is reduces labour costs. All the other things on that list are sort of mitigating factors. They don't care about anything other than that. And I'm not blaming the individual news show or even a massive organisation like Chipotle. It's systemic thinking. We have already become automatized in the way we approach reality because of interests built around finance and domination.
They become a person, I think.
Who fixes Chippy?
I can have a great conversation with Chippy and Flippy.
They would struggle to match their humanity.
You know, this is essentially like a factory worker.
Yeah.
A factory machine. If you're Ford, you operate with robots right now. This is very much something similar, and maybe it won't wear out that much.
All right.
But where are all these ideas coming from? A 2020 World Economic Forum report predicted that robotics and automation would displace 85 million jobs globally in the coming 5 years. Experts have also claimed that AI bots will take 20% of all jobs within 5 years. That's inequality in action. That is, you will own nothing and you will be happy in action. This is the concentration and consolidation of power. And if you think that's conspiratorial, remember the technological revolution of the 50s. Vacuum cleaners, white goods, dishwashers and all that. What is there now? Have you got more time? Or has it worked out that there's just built-in obsolescence, an endless cycle of consuming? And this is just another advance in the same mentality. But according to the WF, more new roles will be created, 97 million, as humans, machines and algorithms increasingly work together. It's a bit sketchier on those particular details of its master plan. But this will help everybody. How? I don't know. Would you like some bugs? No. What if Flippy make the bugs all delicious for you? I am your grandmother. Eat your bugs. Do you not want to eat it? I wouldn't like to pry. Okay, so let's see how the research underwrites some of Klaus Schwab's theories. New research shows the rise of robots may not be as beneficial for workers as some claim. What? Automation could have positive impacts on economic growth and productivity, according to economists, but workers might not reap the rewards. What about trickle-down economics? We can use Drippy to scoop up any trickles and give those back to the elites. Exposure to robots had negative effects on employment, leading some workers to drop out of the labour force and increasing unemployment. The Economist examined the effects of industrial robots on the Chinese labour market using data from over 15,000 families and found that the workforce struggled to adjust to the dramatic changes brought by robotics. So what exactly was it that made working with robots so difficult? Do you want an espresso? Do you want an espresso? Dump that in a bin. What is the problem? Are we not friendly enough? Robot exposure led to a decline in labour force participation, -1%, employment, -7.5%, and hourly wages, -9% of Chinese workers, they wrote. At the same time, among those who kept working, robot exposure increased the numbers of hours worked by 14%. The implications of robotisation in emerging markets for jobs, growth, and inequality could be profound, the Economist wrote. They went on to argue that developing nations may be faced with the decision between increased productivity and potential higher economic inequality and social unrest if they choose to continue automating away jobs with robots. Hopefully then, there are new protest laws being introduced all over the world and harsh new measures preventing people from forming unions and coming together. Also, hopefully, there are massive censorship laws that prevent people from conducting conversations in public spaces that allow them to organise around alternative narratives and agenda that oppose centralised authority. Keep watching the mainstream media, everyone. You'll see the way this is heading. That's why we need independent voices like this and independent conversations like this one, so that we can continue to present mainstream news and advancing technologies in a more balanced light. That's not to say that technology isn't fascinating, that all of this couldn't be used to create some kind of utopian society where people didn't need to work and that we could spend all our time praying and exploring inner and outer space and creating wonderful new systems of opportunity and care and love for one another, psychedelic ventures. But I don't imagine that's the way all this is heading. But that's just just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments in the chat. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Turn on the notification bell and the censorship, because AI is already being used to direct your attention towards favorable narratives and obscure narratives that may awaken you, inform and empower all of us. More important than any of that is that you please stay free.